Welcome to Leaders Arise with Joyful Julie. Join us as we explore life-changing, freedom-releasing biblical truths to empower leaders and patriots to reach their full potential, cancel out fraudulent beliefs, and increase in influence and financial success. Let's get started. Hi, Leaders Arise. It is Joyful Julie here, and the battle is raging out there in the world. And it is a good thing that we have the kingdom of Jesus Christ residing on the inside of us, who equips us to meet every need, every struggle, every victory, every challenge, every I don't know, that the Holy Spirit lives on the inside of us to equip us for every good work. So we're going to continue on. I think I said that in a recent podcast. I missed a week, wasn't feeling good, had some outside commitments and travel, but I'm here this week because there are people who are out there struggling in this fight. Some days I struggle in this fight, and I just felt impressed to remind us of the supernatural weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. And in Ephesians 6, which is partly where I just quoted, it gives us a word of encouragement. So I have two ideas that you could strengthen yourself with. On the New Life for Today website, if you go to the store, I have a CD series called The Believer's Authority. And this is 6 hours worth of teaching that you can use to strengthen yourself and that you can push back the thoughts, the attacks, the strategies, the defeats, the deceits of the enemy. And so if you would like this in MP3 form, you can go ahead and give us a message on our website. It's just becoming available in MP3 form, and we can get that out to you. But so first of all, today's podcast, I was looking through some old material from an interview that I did during the beginning of the pandemic. And it was based on the chapter in my book called Pass the Test. And this chapter I was recently reviewing with a friend of mine who's going through one of what I call the top 10 struggles, the ultimate tests of our faith, when we experience the death of a loved one, when we experience a job loss, when we experience foreclosure, when we experience a health crisis, when we experience divorce, all of the big ones. But in these days, even the convergence of a number of smaller ones can put us into a crisis of faith. And so this interview that I did was during a time when people were under a lot of stress. And so I'm going to give you a few thoughts today, and then we are going to play the audio of that interview for you because it was so good back during the pandemic, and it is so applicable to what we are going through today. But first, I wanted to remind you that the Incredible Life Makeover is where this material comes from. When I'm discussing the Battle Cries, they are in the Pass the Test chapter. And then on our store, the Kingdom Authority series has many spiritual tools to walk in victory, even when we're walking a tightrope, even when we don't know exactly what our future is going to look like. It does not have to break us. But God, by his presence, can guide us, but we need to do the work to control our own mind, to control our own emotions, and to not let the wiles and deceits of the enemy overtake us. So in Ephesians chapter 6, it says in verse 10, in conclusion, be strong in the Lord. And then in the Amplified Bible, it says, be empowered through your union with him. You have to know him so that in these days, in these times, in these terrible situations, that you also know how good he is. Those roots, I call them faith anchors in my book. That's a different chapter. But those faith anchors have to hold you in days of adversity. We have to learn how to develop decision muscles. That's also in my book, The Incredible Life Makeover. In days of adversity, we have to know how to not be controlled by our emotions and make faith-filled decisions. It says, be strong in the Lord, be empowered with your union with him. That union reminds me of one of the first chapters in my book is about intimacy with God. And how do we develop that? So many don't know if they believe in God because they've never taken the time to actually get to know him. Never taken the time to invest in an intimacy and a oneness with him, that you are ready to die for him. And that these trials that we experience on earth, that they are not the end all. Continuing on, it says, draw your strength from him, the strength which his boundless might provides. We do not walk in our own strength, but we do have to draw on the strength that resides on the inside of us, the inner man. And we have to use that to fight and hold up our shield of faith, hold up our breastplate of righteousness, control our thoughts, words, and actions. And then it says, put on the whole armor of God. And then in the Amplified, it says, the armor of a heavy armed soldier, which God supplies. And I taught a series a long time ago on spiritual warfare. Every time I teach that series, my life comes under attack. So desperate, so terribly. But the cover of that book that I teach from the book is called Dress to Kill by Rick Renner. If you've never heard of it, it is worth its money in gold. But the picture on that is a picture of a warrior. And sometimes we like to think of ourselves as we're Christians and God's given us this nice, easy life and we're in our lazy boy. And the difference is that we're supposed to view ourselves as warriors, that there is a fight out there to be won, taking the kingdom of light into the kingdom of darkness. Anyway, that's a whole nother sermon or podcast. So we've talked about that many times, but then it says that you are able to successfully to stand up against all the strategies and deceits of the devil. And this is where in my book in chapters 5, 6, and 7, I give you skill sets, tool sets to be able to shove aside those strategies and the deceits and the lies of the enemy and not make the most tragic mistake of your life by giving in to the devil's strategies, giving in to the devil's wiles. He is cunning. He tries to make it seem like his answer, like that ungodly choice is your only one, but it is not. And then it says, for we are wrestling not against flesh and blood, contending only with a physical opponent. It is not the people that we are fighting against, but against despotisms, against powers, against the master spirits who are world rulers over this present darkness. I love that book, the Present Darkness. So opened my eyes to the beginnings of my understanding of spiritual warfare. And then it says, against the spirit forces of darkness in the heavenly supernatural realm. Now, here's the key verse for today's podcast. This is why I want you to listen to that interview that I did, because it says, therefore, put on God's complete armor that you may be able to resist and stand your ground on the evil day of danger. And having done all the crisis demands, yes, God equips us for crisis to stand firmly in your place. And so I want you to realize today that we are to stand firmly in the day of crisis, in the day of danger, and that God has has equipped us for it. So I hope you enjoy this interview that I did. And I pray that you develop your intimacy, your skill sets of controlling your mind, your will, your emotions, your skill sets of declaring your battle cries in the day of crisis, and that you are able to fight off the strategies and deceits of the enemy, and that you will be able to stand firmly proclaiming your faith, who you believe in, and that you will be able to bring many with you in their journey of faith. Thank you so much and enjoy the interview.
Hello, everyone. It is wonderful to be with you today. In these days of what can be crisis and trauma, I believe that our mental and emotional health, that we are the masters of it. And in the Incredible Life Makeover, there are 2 parts to the book. The first part offers 7 phases of transformation. And we're not going to be covering those parts today, but the second part of the book offers 6 superior mindsets. And this mindset is the first one, and it's called Pass the Test. And when I wrote this chapter, it was for people as they're going through the ultimate tests of their life. When I wrote the book, that was meant for if you're experiencing like foreclosure or loss of a child or death of a loved one or divorce. And we all know that in these days, we are experiencing what I would consider to be an ultimate test because our life is in chaos, it's in turmoil. And my life went into turmoil on the day when my husband came home and said, I want a divorce. And I was in paralysis. And many of you today may be in paralysis. But I want you to know that you can steward your mind, your will, and your emotions. Because what's happening to you today as the news brings one bad report and then another bad report and another bad report. The thing is, I am going to bring you hope. And more than that, I am going to bring you equipping. Because actually there's a war for who's going to control our minds today. Who's going to come through this with confidence? Who's going to come out of it with not walking in fear, but still going towards their destiny, towards their purpose? And in my book on page 112, it says, when we face an ultimate test, it is our faith, our identity, and our confidence go through the fire. And that is what's happening right now. I am going to equip you with 3 of the 5 battle cries. So, of course, I wish I could share all of them with you, but we just won't have time to do that. So if you have a pen and a paper, I would encourage you to get them out because you can use these every day as a practical equipping so that you can go forward in faith, strength, and confidence in the days ahead. So let's get started right away. Our first battle cry is, with God's help, I will control my thoughts and words. I will not accept a victim mentality. I'm going to repeat that one more time for you. With God's help, I will control my thoughts and words. Now say this next part with me. I will not accept a victim mentality because I believe that we are never a victim if we have the mental and emotional strength to believe in ourselves and to keep our identity as an overcomer in all situations. This battle cry will actually help you to continue to move forward as you complete the hard tasks that are in front of us each day. We are all having to pivot, and we're either going to recluse ourselves or isolate ourselves, and we could even give our mind over to a spirit of fear or depression and anxiety, or we can control our thoughts and words. Now, I want to give you a real life example about how I use this battle cry. When I was going through the divorce, I was actually prayer walking, and I began to hear myself say, I forgive my ex-husband for destroying my life. And up out of me, I heard the voice of the Holy Spirit say, he is not destroying your life. He is only destroying the life as you knew it. Only you can destroy your life. And so I want you to realize today that we need to take ownership, because no one else can destroy our life. Interruption in financial conditions cannot destroy your life. Only our response can assume that we are powerless, that we are a victim, and that we can do nothing. I want you to say out loud right now after me, remember, say it with me, say it right after me, only I can destroy my life. Great job. Because the thing is that if you look in the bathroom mirror, if you look in the mirror in your bedroom and you say that to yourself, only I can destroy my life, the world out there is not powerful enough to destroy our lives. I want you to work really hard when you get up in the morning, or when you're hearing that bit of bad news, like someone else has lost their job or is on unemployment. I want you to have an overcoming attitude. And I want you to say, I will control my thoughts and words, because I have had to choose every day since this began to not fall into depression, to not fall into fear or anxiety. And remember that I am going, each day has enough trouble of its own. And so each day I'm looking for opportunities to do good. I'm looking for opportunities to build other people up, because I am working hard every day, because I control my thoughts and my words. Now, why do I do that? It's because I do not want to allow bitterness or resentment to come down into my heart concerning all of this, because I need to control my thoughts and words to be able to continue to partner with my identity and with my purpose. They do not have to be ripped apart by the things that our government is doing. There are still going to be opportunities for the future. There are still going to be new businesses. There's still going to be with chaos and with change, it always births opportunity. So I want to give you a few phrases that I use to implement this battle cry. And one of them is, only I can destroy my life. Here's the key phrase, no excuses. Because it can seem like I don't have any options, but I want you to know, I have never been in a situation where I don't have options. The second one, I will not give up on my identity or my purpose. Because how can we make a difference in the world if we give up on our identity and purpose? And the last one is, I will not think like a victim. I am an overcomer. So when facing these stressors, it is important, though, I want you to know, it is important to realize the emotions that you're going through and to acknowledge them, because they are real. But the difference is we just don't want those emotions to be running our train. And in my book, there's a really fun diagram that talks about after we acknowledge our emotions, after we maybe process them, we actually put those in the caboose, and we use our human will and our faith to determine the direction of our train. And we can do that if we don't let our mouth begin speaking out a bunch of negative things, if we don't let our mind continue to dwell on the absolute worst outcome. Because 99.9% of the time, the things that we're afraid of, they never happen. And I truly believe that there is so much good that's going to come out of this, and opportunities if we have the eyes to see them. And it's the eyes of an overcomer that's going to be looking forward, that's going to see those opportunities. Okay, so let's move to the second battle cry. It says, and this is on page 115, With God's help, this is so powerful, I will control my response to the pain and trauma. I will control my response to the pain and trauma. And let's face it, every day we're getting slapped with it. Slap, slap, slap. But the thing is that I am going to work very hard, and I'm encouraging you to work very hard to control your response to the pain and trauma. Now, here's the power sentence for this battle cry. I will not let this loss rob anything else from me. I will not let the pain and trauma rob anything else from me. Because you know what? We determine so much of what the effect of what is happening, going on around us, the effect that it's going to happen. But there are tons of things where I can look for what do I have and what do I have access to? How can I pivot and turn so that I do not lose anything that I have control over? And so the thing is, with each thing that you feel like you could lose, I want you to know that there are so many things that we do have access to. We just need to pivot. And this recovery that's going to happen, this is going to last for a little while. And there's a phrase that I like to use, because when the enemy or your own mind tries to project how terrible things are going to be, I like to use the phrase, this too shall pass. And that is one thing about getting older, is that this too shall pass. This is not going to last forever. In a year from now, we're going to be able to say, I lived through. But during that recovery process, we just have to give ourselves grace and mercy, but we are going to recover. And so some of us are actually going through emotional trauma, mental trauma, financial trouble, and this can make you feel like you're trapped. But we aren't. We have to discover the things that we have access to and discover new ways of doing them. And how do we do that? We put energy into that. This is not going to rob anything that I have control over from me. And okay, so the next thing, the last battle cry, since we just have a few minutes left, the last battle cry that I have for you is battle cry number 5 in the book. It says, with God's help, I will continue to pursue my dreams and my destiny, no matter what. I will not let this trauma define me or my purpose. And so I want you to know that while we're going through this intensity of this, every day we need to look in the mirror and we need to remind ourselves who we are. Because the thing is this is a temporary setback. It is a pause in our life. But when we feel overwhelmed in our feelings and in our emotions, we can choose, I will depend on God and I will connect with other people as a support. And exactly what you're doing today, I encourage you. And so if you would like to be encouraged, you can reach me at newlifefortoday.com. That is newlifefortoday.com. There is a download for a free chapter of my book. There's radio interviews, there's a store, there's a blog. It would be wonderful. And I also have a business called Transformation Life Coaching. And if you need help and support during these troubled times, I would love to connect with you and to be able to pour into your life, because you are not a victim and you can actually come out of this a stronger person than you have ever thought you could be. So thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the battle cries, and pick up your copy of The Incredible Life Makeover in order to read the rest of the 7 phases, the 6 superior mindsets, and we will get through and we will become even better and stronger than we have ever been before. So thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leaders Arise. For more information about my newsletter, speaking events, and coaching services, see newlifefortoday.com.